I'm Rebecca.
And I'm Hunter, and this is the Family Showdown!
Howdy folks, I'm Hunter Thomason from the Family Showdown. Over on the Dice Tower YouTube channel, I regularly contribute to their Board Game Breakfast variety show. And lately I've been doing a Through the Years series where I'm looking at the top game on Board Game Geek by year. I started with 1970. And what I thought I would do is over here on our Family Showdown channel, I would put all these episodes together by decade so that you have them all in one spot and don't have to look through all the different Board Game Breakfast episodes to find each individual one. So I hope you enjoy it. I want to give thanks to Board Game Geek for their awesome database that made this possible. And I want to say a few caveats. One is that the rankings over time have likely changed. So the rankings are as they were when I produced the episode, and the ratings and all those sorts of things. So things might have changed up a little bit, but still I think this will be an interesting thing to look at. So I hope you enjoy it. Let's start off with this decade. Howdy folks, welcome to By the Numbers. My name is Hunter Thomason from the Family Showdown. On this episode of By the Numbers, we're continuing my Through the Years series, where I look at the best game on Board Game Geek by year. Started with 1970, this time 2001. Take a look at the top 5. We see the number 1 game is Devon, coming in at 459. But it's the 9th best abstract strategy game. As I said, Devon is an abstract strategy game. It's for 2 players. It's part of the Project GIPF series. Or is it GIPF? In Devon, you're moving your pieces. You have one player plays white, one player plays black, as is the traditional abstract strategy game colors. But there's also 3 Devon pieces, and you must keep your pieces connected to those Devon pieces. Otherwise, they get knocked off the board.
They would move twice this way. Boom, boom. These pieces have just become disconnected from everything that's red, and they would be completely removed from the board.
Take a look at the ratings. Over 4,000 of them. We see lots of 7s and 8s for an overall rating of 7.5. Taking a look at the weight, it comes in at 2.67. It's one of those easy to learn, a lifetime to master games. If you're looking for a great gift for Christmas, Devon might be the game for you. See you next time. 2002. Take a look at the top 5 from 2002. We see the number 1 game is Puerto Rico, coming in at number 27. Puerto Rico is a city building game that uses an interesting follow the leader action selection system where the active player selects the action and gets a benefit for doing so, but the other players can take that same action but not get that extra benefit. This action selection system was the precursor to such games as Race for the Galaxy and Twilight Imperium. Puerto Rico is currently sitting at the number 27 game of all time as of this recording, but it used to be the number 1 game of all time. From somewhere around late 2002, early 2003, through August 2008, it was the number 1 game. And then Agricola stole that title from it. But Puerto Rico made a cameo appearance in 2010. From March to December, it was the number 1 game again. Take a look at the ratings. Over 62,000 of them. We see lots of 8s and 9s and 10s for an overall rating of 8. Take a look at the weight. It comes in at 3.28. I think that has a little bit to do with the fact that back in the day it was a heavy Euro game. Nowadays, maybe not so much. I haven't played me some Puerto Rico in a long time. Seems to be the foundation on a lot of heavy games that we play today. Maybe we should revisit the Elders occasionally. See you next time. 2003. Taking a look at the top 5 from 2003, we see the number 1 game is Yinch. Yinch, coming in at 183. Yinch is an abstract strategy game where you have 5 little rings. You're moving these rings around a board. You're leaving a trail of your pieces behind it. You're trying to get 5 in a row. But the trick is when you jump over pieces, they flip to the other side, which is your opponent's color, or you can flip your opponent's color to your color. Each time you get 5 in a row, you lose one of your rings, which makes you less powerful, but gets you 1 step closer to winning because when you remove 3 of your rings from the board, you win the game. Yinch is a part of a series of games called the Gift Projects. They're all abstract games, and Yinch is the number 1 rated game in this series on Board Game Geek. Take a look at the ratings. Over 7,000 of them. We see tons of 8s for an overall rating of 7.7. Taking a look at the weight, it comes in at 2.71, which is kind of the middle of the road, which is common for abstract games. They're usually pretty easy to teach, but they're very difficult to master. Taking a look at the top 5 abstract strategy games on Board Game Geek, see Yinch comes in at number 5. Not too bad. As you can see, Yinch is a gift to us all. See you next time. 2004. Take a look at the top 5 from 2004. We see the number 1 game is Power Grid, coming in at number 38. Finally, after 9 long years, we have a game I actually own, Power Grid. Power Grid's an economic simulation where you're building a series of power grids throughout the lands. There's all kinds of maps for this game. You're building a chain of these power grids. You're getting more and more efficient as time goes by. It has a nice supply and demand system where as you buy the resources you need to power your power grids, different types. You have coal and oil and nuclear and all sorts of things. It gets more expensive. It's a little supply and demand action going on. This game has an interesting in-game situation. You're trying to build a certain number of power plants based on the number of players, but that person doesn't necessarily win. It's who can power the most of their plants, and that last round of the game is the winner. Take a look at the ratings, over 55,000 of them. We see a nice little bell curve around 8s for an overall rating of 7.9. Take a look at the weight. It comes at a 3.27. Pretty heavy game. There's lots of things going on. There's lots of different phases in the game. There's auctioning, resource buying, battle building your grid and how that works. Lots of things going on, but it's an awesome little game. Power Grid's one of my favorite economic simulations. In fact, it hits the tops of a lot of people's lists. Power Grid's still going strong after 16, well now 17 years. I guess it has the power to stand the test of time. See you next time. 2005. Take a look at the top 5 for 2005. We see the number 1 game is Twilight Struggle, coming in at number 10. But it's the best war game of all time. Take a look at the top 5 from 1999. We see the number 1 game is Paths of Glory, coming in at 141. But it's the 3rd best war game. But wait, is it the 3rd best war game? We'll revisit this in 2005 and 2012. Twilight Struggle is a card-driven strategic simulation of the Cold War, starting just after World War II, all the way through 1989. Twilight Struggle was the number 1 game on Board Game Geek way back in the Wayback Time, around December 2010, January 2011, all the way through December 2015. Take a look at the ratings, over 40,000 of them. We see tons of 8s, 9s, and 10s for an overall rating of 8.3. Taking a look at the weight, it comes in at a 3.58. Kind of light for a war game. All kidding aside, many would call this a war game, though some would not. But it is one of the games I most want to play. It's in the top 10, and I haven't played it. Someone teach me this game. See you next time. 2006. Taking a look at the top 5 in 2006, we see the number 1 game is Through the Ages, A Story of Civilization, coming in at number 48. Through the Ages is a card-driven civilization game where you're managing resources, developing new technologies, installing all kinds of interesting leaders, managing your military through 3 ages of history. Although I haven't played the original version of Through the Ages, A Story of Civilization, I have and love the new version, the 2015 version, Through the Ages, A New Story of Civilization. That one's rated actually much higher than the original, all the way at number 6. But unfortunately, when I get around to 2015, we won't be talking about this game. Take a look at the ratings, almost 18,000 of them. We see lots of 8s for an overall rating of 7.9. Take a look at the weight, it comes in at a 4.17. Super heavy game, lots of rules. This is a hard game to teach and play. But I was shocked to find out there are 10 games in the Board Game Geek Top 100 that are rated heavier than Through the Ages, the original version. The new version is one of those 10. So if you're looking for an epic civilization game, has leaders, governments, military, all sorts of stuff, but no map, this might be the game for you. 2007. Take a look at the top 5. We see the number 1 game from 2007 is Brass, or as the kids are calling it these days, Brass Lancashire, coming in at number 19. Brass is an economic strategy game set in northwest England, the Lancashire area, during the Industrial Revolution. Brass got a fancy new reboot in 2018 by Roxley Games. It updated the artwork, the graphic design, the components, and changed a few little rules. In fact, I've never played the original version of Brass. I have the shiny new Roxley edition to the game. And in fact, I got the cool new poker chips. Let's take a look. I went crazy all in for the recent Roxley game Kickstarter for their iron clays. I went for the crazy big giant box of goodness, which has 400 of these iron clay chips that are really amazing. They're really cool. They sound like real, like fancy poker chips. This is really overboard for brass. Or you don't really need this much stuff, but I use these chips for a lot of games, especially my 18XX games. Taking a look at the ratings, over 19,000 of them. We see lots of 8s and 9s and 7s and 10s for an overall rating of 8.2. Taking a look at the weight, it comes in at a 3.86, which is about right for what would many consider a very heavy economic Euro game. So if you want to try a heavy economic strategy game, that's all that and a stack of chips, Brass Lancashire might be the game for you. See you next time. 2008. Take a look at the top 5 from 2008. We see the number 1 game is
The Harbor.
coming in at number 47. That's a pretty impressive top 5. In fact, this is the first top 5 where I owned every single game. Amazing.
Love.
As a heavy economic strategic game from Uwe Rosenberg, has aspects of city building, worker placement, and of course, feed your people. The Havre is also my favorite Uwe Rosenberg game of all the games I've played of his, including Bonanza, if you can see it up here in the corner. Le Havre is my favorite. Taking a look at the ratings, over 26,000 of them. We see mostly 8s and lots of 7s and 9s and 10s for an overall rating of 7.9. Taking a look at the weight, it comes at a 3.74, which seems about right for a heavy economic simulation game, one of Uwe's heavier games. So if you're looking for a game where you have to feed your people, but this time with boats.
Le Havre.
Le Havre.
I can't pronounce it, for one thing. Why isn't this called just the Harbor?
No, the city is called. Shut up, Z. We're not trolling again here. You almost got me in there.
It's pronounced Le Havre, right?
I can see your email coming.
Le Havre.
The Havre.
Le Havre.
Might be the game for you. See you next time. 2009. Take a look at the top 5 from 2009. We see the number 1 game is Dominion Intrigue, coming in at number 84. Dominion Intrigue is a standalone sequel or expansion to the 2008 Dominion game. We didn't talk about that game because it came in number 3 on the 2008 rankings. Just like the original Dominion, Dominion Intrigue is a deck building game. In fact, this game can be combined with Dominion to play with up to 8 players. Take a look at the ratings, over 30,000 of them. We see mostly 8s for an overall rating of 7.7. Taking a look at the weight, comes in at a 2.42, which is about right for a straight deck building game with not a lot of bells and whistles. Dominion is one of my wife's favorite games. You remember Rebecca? Everybody remembers Rebecca, right? So, for a gift for one of her, I think it was a birthday, I built her, or put together, I guess I didn't really build the box, but I put together a box to hold all the Dominion expansions in one place. Let's take a quick look. Look, little sneak peek. So, we got all the rule books, bazillion rule books. Then I got all the cards here, labeled and sorted, alphabetical order, and all the different special cards, tons and tons of the gold cards and other things, all the little boards for, like, I think it's Adventures, it has the taverns, and all the metal coins and all sorts of goodies, all still stored in one place. Dominion was not good enough to make it in the Through the Years series, but its standalone sequel was intriguing. See you next time. 2010. Taking a look at the top 5 from 2010, we see the number 1 game is Seven Wonders, coming in at number 61. Seven Wonders at the time was a very innovative game with its card drafting mechanism.
I'm sorry. Seven Wonders is not innovative. The drafting mechanic has been done before, which means it's not innovative.
As I was saying, Seven Wonders, not innovative, is a card drafting civilization game that plays up to 7 players. Take a look at the ratings, almost 85,000 of them. We see mostly 8s for an overall rating of 7.7. Taking a look at the weight, it comes in at a 2.33, which might seem a little low for a civilization game, but it plays in only about 30 minutes. Seven Wonders is yet another game I have in my collection, which is becoming more common as we get into the more modern years in the Through the Years series. In fact, there is a brand new edition, that, speaking of modern, that came out last year, 2020, and I would compare the two, but Mr. Garcia did an amazing comparison of those two versions, the original edition and the second edition. You can go check that out. First edition or second edition, Seven Wonders is still an awesome game, and all kidding aside, I love you, Sam. See you next time.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. Click subscribe to join our wonderful viewer community.
Want to be notified when we upload a new video or go live? Click on the little bell below.